doing
Well, I'm confused. Are you going to block consideration of the bill? Basically, what is the first issue is, are you going to allow consideration of the bill? And you can filibuster that. After, if you lose that, then a simple majority could take out Obamacare. So are you going to allow consideration of the bill, have an up or down vote on defunding Obamacare, or are you going to block them from even taking up a bill which you support?
Well, the first order of business is going to be to ask Harry Reid if he will agree to allow amendments to be subject to a 60-vote threshold. And that's typical in the Senate. We have a lot of amendments that are subject to 60-vote thresholds. Now, in all likelihood, he's going to say no, because he wants to use brute political power to force Obamacare funding through with just Democrats, exactly the same way he passed the bill 3 years ago. Now, if he does that, then Senate Republicans have the tool that we always use when the majority leader is abusing his power, which is we can deny cloture. We can filibuster and say, we will not allow you to add the funding back for Obamacare with just 51 votes.
But sir, if I may, you say that this is brute political power. Other times you've said it's a procedural gimmick. It's Senate Rule 22, which has been around for years. It's part of the Senate rules, and it says after you allow debate, after you take cloture, that you can pass an amendment by a simple majority. That's the rule.
Chris, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You're right, that is one rule. But there is another rule that says it takes 60 votes to get cloture. And that's the reason the Senate generally, on controversial votes, we work out an agreement for it to be subject to a 60-vote threshold, because the minority, if the majority is going to run the minority over with a train, the minority has the ability to stop them. And so if Harry Reid says, you know what, I'm going to run the Republicans over, I'm going to ignore the bill passed by the House of Representatives, I'm going to ignore the will of the people, and I'm going to do this on a 51-vote threshold, then from my mind, it should be an easy decision for Senate Republicans to stand united and to support House Republicans. And I'll tell you, any vote for cloture, any vote to allow Harry Reid to add funding for Obamacare with just a 51-vote threshold, a vote for cloture is a vote for Obamacare. And I think Senate Republicans are going to stand side by side with Speaker Boehner and House Republicans, listening to the people and stopping this train wreck that is Obamacare.
Okay, a couple of quick questions. First of all, you need 41 votes. You're one vote. You need 40 other Republican senators to go with you to block consideration of the House bill in the Senate. How many votes do you have right now, Senator?
Well, we don't know right now, and this week will determine. Look, this has been a fast-moving target. You know, just a few weeks ago, we didn't have anywhere near the votes we needed in the House or in the Senate. And my view all along was this was going to be a long journey. This was going to be multiple stages. Stage one was unify the American people, and we've seen nearly 1.6 million Americans sign a national petition at don'tfundit.com and call their representatives saying, stop Obamacare. Stage two was what happened on Friday, the House voting to defund Obamacare. Stage three is next week, where Senate Republicans, it's now our turn to unify, to stand together with House Republicans. And then the next step, look, this may end up going back to the House, and I hope and fully believe the House will continue the fight. And if we take this to the American people, I believe the next step after that is starting to get red state Democrats, starting to get, if you're a Mark Pryor, if you're a Mary Landrieu, running for re-election in Arkansas and Louisiana, and you start to get 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 calls from your constituents, suddenly it changes the calculus entirely. But, Chris, that won't happen until we unify Republicans.
All right,
in
but
the Senate.
Senator, here's the question everyone on both sides is asking in Washington, which is, what's your end game? Let's say that you block consideration of any bill in the Senate, or let's say that you lose and the bill goes into the Senate and they take out Obamacare and they send it back to the House. What's your end game? Because the government is going to shut down a week from Monday.
Well, I don't want the government to shut down. The American people don't want the government to shut down. And I don't think Harry Reid and President Obama should shut down the government. Listen, if that happens, if Harry Reid kills this bill in the Senate, I think the House should hold its ground and should begin passing smaller continuing resolutions, one department at a time. It should start with a continuing resolution focused on the military. Fund the military, send it over. And let's see if Harry Reid is willing to shut down the military just because he wants to force Obamacare on the American people. I think that would be a very perilous decision for Harry Reid to make, and the House can keep driving this. Look, the House is the only body where Republicans have a majority, and so the House has to lead on this. And I view my job and Mike Lee's job as providing as much support, as much air cover as we can for the House to stand up and lead, and I commend them for having done that last week.